All right, where did the book first come from? Did Peter bring it to the studio? And what was the process of working with Alvin Sargent on the adaptation?
Well, no, what happened was I was making a picture with Larry McMurtry, the writer, and I were working on a Western at Warner Brothers called, at the time it was called Streets of Laredo. And it was going to be with John Wayne, Jimmy Stewart, Henry Fonda, Sybil Shepherd, the Clancy brothers, Ellen Burstyn, Cloris Leachman, Ben Johnson. Big Western. Wonderful Western. And Larry, we planned to do it, and as we were working on it, Paramount came to me and said, we've got a picture we want you to do called Addie Pray. And John Huston wants to do it with Paul Newman and his daughter, but we want you. I said, well, I'm very flattered, but I'm doing a Western over here at Warner's. Well, the Western fell apart because Duke Wayne turned it down. It's a long story. I don't want to do it, Pete. It's a kind of a end of the West Western, and I'm not ready to hang up the spurs yet. Well, you don't die in it, Duke. No, but everybody else does. And Jimmy Stewart said, well, no, why do I let the horses go? And if Duke's not going to do it, then why would I let the horses go? So we didn't do it. So I said to Larry, the hell with it, write it as a novel. 13 years later he did. It was called Lonesome Dove. He won the Pulitzer Prize. Anyway, then Paramount came back to me and said, well, look, Houston's going to do it with Newman, but if we still offered it to you first, so we'd like to know if you'd consider it. So I read the script. I thought it had some really good stuff, needed a lot of work. I had an idea of Ryan and Tatum to play it. I called Paramount, Bob Evans, I said, I'll consider doing it with Ryan O'Neal and his daughter Tatum. How old is his daughter? She's about 8. He said, well, the character's 12. I said, it's funnier if she's younger. He said, well, I'm not going to do it with Ryan O'Neal. Forget it. Why not? Just forget it. Found out that Ryan had had an affair with Ally McGraw on Love Story while she was married to Robert Evans. So Bob had a personal thing about that. Well, I just said, okay, I'm not making it then. Do it with Houston. At the moment, Variety had a little picture called What's Up, Doc with Ryan O'Neal and me. And it was a huge hit, so I think corporately they couldn't exactly say no, so we ended up doing it. Bob swallowed hard and said, okay. And then I read the book. And the entire Trixie Delight sequence with Madeline Kahn was not in the script. And I said, well, we got to put this in. This is the second act. So we put all that in. And had a long meeting with Alvin Sargent, who's a very good writer. And the script had some very good things in it. It just needed work. And when the long meeting was over, he said, well, I said, Alvin, it's going to be fun. And Alvin said, you know, you made the archetypal director's remark at the beginning of this meeting. I said, what did I say? You said, Alvin, it's a very good script. It just needs a complete rewrite. We did never get an ending until the ending I described to you. And I asked him to write certain things, and we came up with the idea of a scam that doesn't work at the end because he gets beaten up and all that. So, I mean, we went back and forth on it, but it was a very pleasant experience.
All right, there was a question over there. We have time for a couple more.
In fact, we only used about a little less than half the book because the second half of the book deals with a whole other situation.
After she's dropped off at her aunt's, right?
Well, she actually gets dropped off with an old lady who they wanted to do a sequel to this, and they wanted to do the second half of the book with Mae West playing the old lady, and Mae West and Tatum. And I said, well, we've done it. I don't want to. They wanted to call it Harvest Moon. I said, we've done it. I'm not going to do it again. I called Cary Grant and I said, guess what, Cary? What's Up, Doc is opening at the Radio City Music Hall, which was the premier place for family pictures in 1972, and since 1933, actually. And Cary said, oh, that's nice. I've had 28 pictures play the hall. 28 pictures? Yeah, all my pictures play the music hall. I'll tell you what you must do. When it opens up, you go down there, put on a raincoat and sunglasses. Well, you won't need that. Just go and stand in the back. And you listen and you watch while 6,500 people laugh at something you did. It will do your heart good. And I did, and I have to say that was the height of my enjoyment of enjoying an audience watching a movie. It was just pure heaven. 6,500 people laughing. The place shook. We broke the house record, 2 weekends in a row. 33-year house record with attendance. Same $2 top. Anyway, Cary, I loved him. He was great. I have some great Cary Grant stories if you want to hear them.
Let me get a couple more questions. Yes?
Are there any parts in the film that you're not particularly fond of, or parts that you like more than others, perhaps?
Are there any parts in the film that Peter isn't fond of or likes more than others?
No, it kind of works. If I wasn't fond of it, it wouldn't be in the picture. Because I worked hard to get the pictures right. And of course, you can always improve anything. Robert Graves said, no poem is ever perfect. My father was a painter, said, no painting is ever finished. So, my father sold a painting, and he didn't believe in signing the paintings because he thought it ruined the composition. So he sold the painting, and people said, would you please sign it? Yes, I will come to your house and sign it when it is on the wall. So he came, sure enough, he came over to the house and had his palette and walked in and he went in to sign it, and they left him. And they came back and they saw he was painting the pictures, painting. What are you doing? Oh, just a little. So no film is ever quite finished, but at a certain point you say, this is the best I can do, and you walk away. I've done director's cuts of the ones that I thought needed work, but this one I think works pretty well. I'm reasonably happy with it.
Any moment during the filming that Peter knew he was making something great that would stand the test of time?
No, I don't think of it that way. It's really hard work, and what was it? Truffaut said you start out making a film hoping it's going to be Stagecoach, and by the middle of it you just hope you'll live to see the end of it. That was a little bit like this, because Tatum was tough, hard work, and I wasn't getting along with Polly, and it was a difficult picture to make. But every picture I've made, with maybe one or two exceptions, I've hoped would be good and would stand up and be around a few years after I was gone. So it's always on my mind that the picture should be worth more than just being around for one season. But there wasn't any particular moment of transfixed moment where I say this is going to be great. No, I didn't do that. I usually am not sure about anything, except once it's all done, it either works or it doesn't.
Well, I think one thing we can all be sure of tonight was that we saw a wonderful, enchanting, and really amazing film. So thank you, Peter.
Well, wait a minute now. We got two stories to tell.
Go.
We promised them a Cary Grant story. And don't you think I should tell them that Jimmy Stewart story?
I think you should.
Right. Well, this won't take long. Cary, which one I should tell? Well, I asked him, this is a couple of great stories, but anyway.
Tell them both.
I asked him something once, and he said, yes, President Kennedy called me for just that reason. I said, really? What do you mean? Well, I was in my office, and my secretary comes in, she says, President Kennedy is on the line. Well, I didn't know him. Of course, I took the call. I said, yes, hello. He says, hello, this is President Kennedy. I'm calling you from the White House. And my brother Bobby is on the other line, the Attorney General. I said, well, hello, Mr. President. Hello, Mr. Attorney General. What can I do for you, gentlemen? The President said, oh, nothing. We just were sitting around. We decided we wanted to hear Cary Grant talk.